Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Deep Six Podcast. Coming to you from somewhere just outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
You guys have to guess.
Coming to you from the International Space Station
of Pancakes.
The International Space Station of Pancakes. It's already going to be one of those shows. It's already going to be one of those shows.
Oh, I got a beer in my hand, so it's definitely going to be one of those shows.
But, yeah, welcome to episode 4. Is this 4? I've lost count.
Cuatro for you Spanish listeners.
Episode 4. Your host here, well, one of your hosts, Steven Spivak, joined again today by my brother, Daniel.
Howdy, y'all.
And the third co-host of the Deep Six Podcast, Matt Barnes. Matt, how you doing?
Hola.
Who is on a 2-show streak, mind you.
2 shows. It's better than no shows.
Consistency.
Well, he's not.
I mean, that's what you're really striving for.
He's
in life,
not Scott Hall, so he will not no-show.
All right.
Last call, Hall.
So, before we get today's show actually, off and rolling, got a little house cleaning I'd like to do. First, I want to mention that the new deep6podcast.com is up and running. And it's a lot prettier. It's a lot sleeker. It's a lot user-friendly.
It's sexy.
A lot more user-friendly.
It's hot and sexy.
How would you say it looks difference-wise between Apple and Windows?
Exactly the same.
No comment.
Does it work better on one versus the other, or
No, it works. Well, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know.
We don't have Windows. Do you have a Windows computer that we can check it out on?
I do.
I've been fighting with it for so long because I've been trying to make it so it's mobile optimized as well.
I wonder why that is.
Yeah, because probably everyone who looks at the internet anymore looks at it on their phone. But we've got the new deep6podcast.com up. Links to all of our social media, host bios. You can actually listen to the show there. So go check that out.
Please listen to the show.
I'm not above begging.
I'm not above any of that. Anything that gets listeners, man.
I'm not above sucking some dick for some listeners.
Whoa.
I never said
what?
that.
Whoa. None of us.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Steven was the one that said that. Matt and I did not. Just want you all to know that.
Yes, I'm not co-signing that.
Yes, my name is not on that agreement. So
but
you're
moving
not
on.
Yeah, did you have a topic?
No, I've still got house cleaning to do. God damn it.
House looks pretty clean already.
I want to let everyone listening also know that this coming Monday, it should be Monday, I will be a guest on the Gods and Monsters podcast once again with Art Miles and Greg Moan.
Monday.
Not sure what we'll be talking about, but I'm sure...
Cough, self-promotion, cough,
yeah, it'll
cough.
probably be a lot of shameless self-promotion.
Please listen to us.
And who knows? But it's always a fun time talking to those guys. And we'll see where that goes. You can find that on facebook.com/godmonsters. One word.
God monsters.
Well, gods and monsters is a very popular term, so somebody already took that probably ages ago. But we'll link that in the show notes for this show. We are also, hopefully, going to be doing an upcoming live stream for SummerSlam. So for those of you that enjoyed
want it all.
The Facebook live stream we're
gonna break out in song for the SummerSlam theme song here, folks.
For the WWE draft, you can join us again for SummerSlam, which I found out today will be 4 hours.
Steven didn't realize that it started at 7. So he originally was gonna have our live stream start at 7:30.
And then didn't you say something about possibly like a 2-hour pre-show?
Yeah, there's a slight rumor going around that the pre-show could be about an hour and a half, 2 hours. So
if it's
stay
not,
tuned.
It's all going to feel like 6 hours anyway, even if it's not. So it's okay.
It's going to be like WrestleMania, where by 12 in the morning, you're going to be wishing to God that it was over already.
Well, as a veteran, I can tell you that being at a WrestleMania, different story.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, that Rock Rowan match was a real barn burner. Moving on.
But yeah, keep an eye out for the SummerSlam live stream, which hopefully we'll be able to put up on the new website, which I've been trying to work out the logistics of getting that onto our actual website.
TBD.
But of course, you'll be able to see that through Facebook, like last time. And one last note before we get actually into the first topic. Before we get into the recap of everybody's 2 weeks, I want to invite the listeners at home to join us in the conversation using the hashtag Deep6Podcast on social media.
Thanks, Moggle.
All right, so guys, how you been over the last 2 weeks? Dan, let's start with you.
I've had a pretty eventful last few weeks, if we're going to be honest here. How much
No,
of this?
we're not being honest at all. This is such a bullshit show.
I'd really prefer if you lied.
Well, I hooked up with a stripper after a nice lap dance. No, I'm kidding. I did not go to a strip club. So completely erase that from your memory. No, I was in a car accident literally about 2 weeks ago.
It was like just around
It was like right after we
time
recorded the last podcast.
No, it was right before we
was
recorded
before.
the last podcast.
Oh,
I
that's
think it was
right,
like
it
2
was.
days before.
Yeah, and
You were still too much of an emotional wreck to actually talk
I was not
about
an
it.
emotional wreck. Jesus. So if the guy I hit is listening, shouts out.
Hey, thanks. you should have told him to listen when you hit him.
Hey, I just rear-ended you. Can you listen to my podcast? Yes, I rear-ended somebody. No, it was not completely my fault, but I guess by insurance purposes it is. But hey, because it was my first accident, it's a forgivable accident. So hey, so I'm driving around in a Kia Soul right now that is owned by Enterprise Rent-A-Car. And fun fact, I was also almost in another car accident the other night. This one was not even close to being my fault.
Note to self, don't let your insurance agent listen to this podcast.
This was not my fault. Long story short, I went to see one of my favorite bands. They're currently on their farewell tour, Motion City Soundtrack. Ask Steve and Matt. I'm currently wearing their farewell tour shirt.
Actually, by the time this show airs, will they still be on tour?
Yes, they'll just be overseas.
Will they be a band anymore by the time the show airs?
Yes, they will just be overseas. But I went to their last show in New Jersey. And afterwards, I was driving home. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning. It's probably about 40 minutes from home, and I'm just driving. You know, I'm on a road. Speed limit's 55. Doing 55 down the
hoping
road.
you're driving on a road.
Speed limit's 55. Just driving home. There's like 4 cars around me. Not that many. And I'm just going, doing my thing. And this car decides that while I'm right next to him, he's gonna try and get over. And not even having a chance to hit my horn because I tried to react to this guy just coming over so I could try to avoid him from hitting me because I knew if he hit me, something bad was going to happen, especially when I'm in a rental car and I don't want anything on this car. Plus, I didn't know if this guy was going to stay at the scene or drive away.
Get to the point. Did he hit you?
No, I just ended up swerving from like 3 lanes over to the right, then 3 lanes back over to the left, almost hit the barrier, was like fearing for my life, and somehow controlled my car on the 3rd swerve back to the right, and was able to get going. And it was one of the scariest situations I've ever gone through in my life.
When I was in Atlanta for Christmas, I want to say it was 2 years ago, I saw a guy flip his Jeep about 6 times in a very similar situation, and the guy walked away from it. Like, his whole life was in this Jeep too, because I guess he was coming home from the holiday, and shit just strewn all the way across I-75.
I bet he had a seatbelt on.
And
that's why he
walked away from it.
It was really frightening for the sense of the guy just kept driving, even though 2 cars saw me behind them going like this, you know, left and right across the road. But the guy just kept going, actually sped up.
You couldn't see that through the powers of radio.
I was pretending like I was swerving back and forth.
Roland impersonation.
Oh.
Like to say that stories that long without a payoff usually are on WWE TV.
But yes, he just kept driving. And
all right, so you almost got in a second accident. Cool, we got that.
In my fit of emotion, I almost drove up to this guy and was going to friggin' flip him off, but I realized that was a dumb idea.
All right,
so just be glad I'm alive here and able to record this podcast.
What the hell else have you been up to over the last 2 weeks?
I'm going to Florida in a couple days.
I'm going to Florida in like 10 hours.
And I have to drive you to the airport at 3:30 in the morning.
Fucking A. Anything else before we move on to the
Nothing.
wonderful Matt?
Nothing I could think of. Matt,
Jeez.
you're on the hot seat, bud.
Not a whole lot.
You haven't done a whole lot, like start a
Nah.
blog?
I did. I started my personal blog, www.doormatreview.
WWE dot.
Start that over.
www.doormatreview.com.
And what's
It's my
it about?
personal blog. Writing reviews, just personal opinion articles about anything pop culture. I've done a lot of movie reviews so far.
I was gonna say reviews of what? But
Somewhat like a
you covered
text
it.
Thus
version of this
far,
podcast.
Yeah, somewhat.
There you go, yeah.
That doesn't mean read the blogs, not listen. That means listen and read.
So far,
Bitches.
I've done a review of the live show of Tommy Wiseau showing the room, which I went to on a Friday night, and you went on the Saturday night.
It's Wiseau. All right. Oh yeah, I did go see the room. That
Yeah.
yes, that also happened. I saw the room. That was awesome. Tommy
we went
Wiseau's
to
the
the
man.
Daily Show.
We did go to the Daily Show, but I was gonna let you cover that in your
I've
recap.
got a lot to cover in my recap.
Ooh, Steven's
So-
been complaining about Pokemon Go for the last week. It's been fan-friggin-tastic.
I have not complained about Pokemon
I reviewed The Killing Joke, and I reviewed
We have
some
not
other
watched that
movies I
yet.
saw.
Go. I downloaded The Killing Joke. I just haven't gotten around to watching it yet.
You're
He
not
also-
missing anything, don't worry.
Yeah.
He also hasn't gotten around to reading it yet. So,
Fuck off and die.
so Steve, what have you been up to?
A lot. I've been building the website, which has been a real fucking pain in the ass. And for anybody
A
that's,
real fucking bore.
it's a real pain in the ass. What else? I'm going to Florida, so there's that.
For what?
To go home for a week. Yeah, for those of you listening who may not know, I don't live in the Philadelphia area. I'm
Don't
only
worry,
here-
nobody cares.
I'm only here on an extended. I don't want to call it a
Extended
sabbatical.
stay America.
I don't want to call it a sabbatical, and that's not the term. I'm here to deal
He's
with
home because he's hurt and he
I'm-
needs to deal with insurance. There you go.
insurance
Because he
and
can't
doctors
spit it
and
out.
getting surgery, I guess. Yeah. But I'll be going home for a week.
If I'm gonna get bitched at for telling an actual story, and Steven can't tell his story,
It's not so much that you were telling an actual story; it was just really boring.
My
I
story.
almost died, man. Come on,
My
Jesus.
my story happened a year ago and has been covered on like 3 different podcasts.
I saw
already,
my life
so-
flash. I saw my life flash before my eyes, and it was literally 3 seconds long.
Now, if you're, I was just about to ask if your life flashed before your eyes.
It didn't.
I hope it was a long picture, as otherwise.
No,
It's just sitting here recording.
I think
this
it was just-
podcast.
I
I
think
hope
it was
it was
just
longer. I hope it was longer than the story you told about the accident.
you will never hear from me again on this podcast because I'm gonna walk out right now. Bye.
But yeah. What else? What else has gone on the last 2 weeks? I don't even know.
We went to the Daily Show.
Oh, we went to the Daily Show.
I set you up for it, and you still
Yeah,
don't even
well,
mention
shit.
it.
I thought it
Well,
already technically
shit.
got mentioned. I don't think you need to mention more.
We went to the Daily Show.
Technically got on TV, so that's cool.
They were
I guess.
They were taping in Philly for the DNC, which is the Democratic National Convention. For those of you who don't care about
We
politics,
were on the Friday show. Is where when we were there. Who was the guest again?
Cory Booker,
Cory Booker.
state senator from New Jersey.
The man has so much charisma. He should
He's the next Democratic
run.
nominee for president. I'm
should get a
gonna
run
put
at
my money on that
the
right now.
WWE Championship.
But let's put an end to political discussion because that's
The
not
next
what this is for.
Democratic nominee for president is going to be like 8 years from now. Let's not worry
That's
about it.
true.
And that means Hillary Clinton's going to win. You heard it here first,
We
folks.
should resign ourselves to that fact by now. So
Officially
But,
predicted by the Deep Six podcast, Hillary Clinton will win the general election in November.
But kind of to segue into our first topic of today's show,
The topic of today's show.
we
Yes,
went
I
and
will do that
saw-
every
I
episode.
forget.
Don't worry.
I forget what it is.
We went and saw. well,
see any movies lately?
Dan and I went and saw Suicide Squad this morning.
I think Matt saw it, opening night?
I saw it Friday.
So, yes.
Yeah, basically.
Yes. Did you see a midnight showing?
I did not. I saw like a 10:20, something like that.
So it was like one of those showings that, like, even
like
though the
the
movie
pre-
comes out that
pre-
night.
it came out
really
Thursday. I
showing-
went actually like Friday evening.
Oh
and
well,
saw
fuck you then that you didn't see
Did
it
movies come? I
ahead
thought
of
movies
time.
came out on Fridays, but I'm probably wrong.
Fucking no.
Not anymore. I mean, the
Movies
official
come out whenever
date-
the fuck they feel like putting out a goddamn movie.
Yeah, me and Steven had to wait because me and Steve usually go see movies Sunday mornings, like real early matinees for like $4. But I had to work all weekend, and today was our first chance to go. Today, Wednesday, not today, Friday, when this is going up. So we went this morning. Still $4, so I was pleasantly okay with that.
Yeah, $5 movies are okay with me.
Especially when you're not paying for them.
But it's very true. Oh, we also went and I had a $5 Pokeball milkshake at the dining car diner.
But enough about Steven's bad life choices.
But yeah, that's going to be the first topic of today's show, Suicide Squad, our thoughts and opinions. And,
I thought you were going to
guess
say our thoughts
basically-
and prayers to Warner Brothers.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. It's
So do we want to jump right into this?
you know what, I'm gonna let
I mean,
our resident.
there's a lot of ground to cover there.
There's a lot of ground to cover in this film, and I'm gonna let our resident DC expert kind of take the reins on this one and lead the conversation.
Who calls himself an expert.
So, Dr. Matt, tell us about this epidemic that is sweeping the nation right
On today's episode of the Deep Six Podcast, we speak with Dr. Matt Barnes on the topic of the Suicide Squad Hollywood offering
now. But
in
first,
cinemas now.
do you know that you can listen to NPR for free? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, Matt. So we'll let you kind of kick this off. What were your thoughts on the movie? How'd you feel about it, overall, and just did it live up to the hype that you gave it in your head?
Well, I tried not to hype the movie in my head, for one. I mean, this is coming from the standpoint of somebody who I loved Man of Steel, and I really, really liked Batman vs. Superman.
You might be the only person on earth that says that.
There's more of us, trust me.
They're
really
living
like
in
it.
shadows.
There's dozens of us. Dozens.
Well, you
I
saw how
think
many
we're
people wanted to
slightly-
take down Rotten Tomatoes.
We're
but we'll get to
slightly
that.
underscoring the number of people that are really into the direction that they're taking with it. It's a very vocal
What
majority
is
of
that
people
Okay,
that
I
don't
will
like
say,
that.
I will say, I'm excited to see them finally doing an expanded universe.
Sure.
But I don't know the films. I've seen Man of Steel. I wasn't very impressed. I didn't hate it, but it wasn't as good as I was expecting
I mean,
it
I
to
think
be.
the most common argument against Man of Steel is that it's not the Superman that people want to see.
He does like billions of dollars of damage and it has no repercussions whatsoever for it.
But,
I mean, but show me a Marvel movie that also doesn't
yeah,
exist.
exactly.
And I don't even like to
wait.
feed into the Marvel versus DC argument because it's
Isn't
all
there-
fan created horse shit.
Isn't there
I
a
don't
whole
like
thing?
to deal with that.
Isn't there a whole
really
thing?
is.
Spoilers in Civil War where they get in trouble for the damage that they created.
Wait,
and
wait,
they're
real
trying
quick.
To
Correct,
curb
but
that.
I almost feel like that's
Real
a
quick,
reaction
real
to like the whole discussion of this conversation
This
directly.
is
Wait,
certainly
wait.
possible.
Real
Certainly
quick,
possible.
I want to put a spoiler warning right here, right now. This show will
Turn
be
it off.
very spoiler heavy. So if you haven't seen Suicide Squad yet, if you haven't seen Civil War yet, if you haven't seen any,
I do have
Marvel
a
or DC
non-spoiler
movie.
review of Suicide Squad on Doormat
Oh,
Review.
we're getting yes, he does. But today it's going to be completely full of spoilers.
So
So
if
if
you want
you're
a
a-
non-spoiler review, I did write one, but we're going to talk about spoilers.
so if you're a damn nerd and you haven't seen the movie yet, and you don't want it to be ruined, but you want to know if it's any good, go read the Doormat Review.
Thank you.
And if you've seen
and
the movie,
turn off this
then you can
podcast.
sit here and listen to us bitch about it. But yeah, moving on back to the discussion of the film.
So I mean, I'm coming from the standpoint of somebody who likes what they're doing already.
Yeah,
So I tried to go in with lowered expectations anyway, because I wasn't sure what this was going to end up being.
exactly.
Was that a
And-
Mad TV skit? Lowered expectations.
I'm not sure. I would never.
I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember where exactly it's from.
I'm sorry. I just thought
I did like it a lot. I wouldn't say I loved the movie, but I did like it a lot.
what would you give it out of say a 10?
Wait, we're talking about Suicide Squad
Yeah.
here, or Man of Steel? Because we were talking about Man
Man
of
of
Steel.
Steel?
as our discussion was about Suicide
No, we
Squad.
were talking about Man of Steel
Man of
before
Steel
I went
for
in
me?
and put in that
no,
that
Suicide
Well,
Squad.
that's
Man of
spoiler
Steel.
warning, so-
To cap off the Man of Steel discussion, then I think it's like just not the Superman that people like to see, where they like to see like the Boy Scout Superman, and you
True,
don't get
yeah.
that in this movie. You get a character that has challenges, more so than just I want
You
to
get
be a human. I'll
Superman
give it up.
that's fighting his
It's not
demons.
Smallville.
It's not it's not like Superman 2 where he gives up his powers and he's like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't want to be Superman anymore. It's not that kind of a struggle. It's more like an inner struggle, like, oh, where do I fit into the universe, and what's my place as a human being? Like, who am I as a guy, not as like a god? Which to me is more interesting than anything they did in the Christopher Reeve and Gene Hackman trash.
Just a guy with 3 dicks.
Well, Christopher Reeves was more about like,
Those movies
I'm
are
a superhero.
Those
I'm gonna
movies
save the day.
Are so bad.
Yes,
They're just terrible.
it's like
Superman-
Adam West Batman.
Superman
Anybody
as
who
a
reveres
character
those
is
movies,
bad.
well, yeah, I mean, it's
I
not
mean-
even.
Whoa.
I don't even like Superman
Superman
comics.
as a character is really kind of
Can we-
dated and boring.
So Suicide Squad.
Dan's defending Superman here.
Well, we were trying to
Well, I
cap
just-
off that subject since we started talking about it.
Well, I just don't want to get off
Superman
into
sucks.
I don't want to get off into a tangent
Well, this is
about
gonna be
our
the
feelings
stopper
on
anyway.
Superman.
So, regardless, I would have given like Man of Steel like an 8 out of 10.
What would you give Suicide Squad?
I like the movie. I like a
Okay,
Superman
all
that
right.
has real struggles.
You like a Superman that's a bit more relatable and personal.
Why wouldn't
Doesn't
you
know.
want
Yeah,
that?
I know.
He
exactly.
doesn't know where he's
I
getting
think
the
What's
money.
not relatable
I think that's
about
probably why
what's
I
more-
liked it more than any other Superman
Out
film.
of the universe they're building, who's more relatable? Is it the Superman that has struggles like what you have, or is it the Batman that's a billionaire orphan that dresses up in a costume at night?
I think it's Harley Quinn
It's
because
Alfred the
I
Butler.
have sexual
Whoa.
fantasies about
Whoa.
clowns. Wait, what?
Whoa.
Between the two characters presented, who's more relatable in this universe?
Was Margot Robbie hotter in Wolf of Wall Street or
Well, by virtue of being naked in Wolf of Wall Street, I think that answers the question for us, does it?
she was basically naked in Suicide Squad too? Well, I was gonna say when you said Superman has real life challenges, I was gonna say Superman doesn't know how to pay his bills this month because his paycheck was delayed by the company he
Well,
worked
yeah,
for.
because he's a bad reporter, which is established in Batman vs Superman, where he's told to go do his job and won't do it, and just does whatever he feels like. Like Superman, Man of Steel 2 is going to be him getting fired because he won't do what he's told to do. And why did you disappear for 2 months when the city's
wants-
destroyed?
He's not taking pictures of Spider-Man.
So anyway, roundabout,
But-
going back to Suicide
Back
Squad.
to Suicide Squad.
I already am predisposed to liking the universe that they're building, and I did like the movie.
fair.
But I would not say that I thought it was like a great movie or I loved it.
Would you say it was lacking that oomph that a lot of films, not so much every film these days has, but a lot of films in kind of like the comic book universe kind of have?
It suffered the same thing that every comic book universe movie has right now. It's got a really weak villain, and it's really well cast. Like everybody does their part really well.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go that far.
We'll get to that
I'm
'cause
not-
I have some issues.
I'm
there, but-
curious on your
I
take
don't know.
on who
I
you
don't
think
know.
wasn't good
okay,
for
well,
their
I don't.
part. But
Okay, I don't want to say I have a problem with any of the casting. I have more of a problem of the way certain characters were written and developed.
That's
well, sure. I
yeah.
mean, storyline,
Um,
I could see a
yeah.
problem with that.
And I think while Will Smith was great in the film, I feel like it was Will Smith. I don't feel
Well,
like it was.
You hire Will Smith for your movie knowing that he's going to play Will
Yeah,
Smith. The
that's
same way
true.
that you hire Jack Nicholson to play the Joker knowing he's just going to be Jack Nicholson
Yeah.
with white paint on
That's
his
very
face.
true.
I felt like the problem was like, while some characters kind of stood out, and I understand that this, like you mentioned, this happens in a lot of superhero films, so I'm not gonna pin this just on Suicide Squad. But I felt like whereas Harley Quinn really stood out, Joker really stood out. Granted, his very short screen time, and Deadshot really stood out. They didn't really give the chance for like
it felt like
like-
Harley, Deadshot, and Joker and the Suicide Squad.
Well,
Yeah,
sure.
like-
I mean, but
like-
it was even marketed that way.
They
though.
didn't-
They didn't really try
I
to
could see
fake that.
Yeah.
they didn't give like I guess Diablo had his moments too, but like I felt like Katana, like there was no backstory to her at all. It's just like, oh, here's Katana, and I'm like,
Well, yeah, it's reference, but they don't ever show
but,
you anything.
but I was kind of,
yeah.
and I understand that like at some point we might get like an origin film for her because there's probably gonna be so many
Probably
people.
not.
There'll
I
probably be
don't
so
think
many
so.
people, and I feel like that's kind of a jip.
I think
honestly.
that was part
I
of
mean,
the issue with
unless
this film
when they
was
go to like Suicide Squad 2 and they decide to divulge more into characters that
See, my thing was-
going to be part of that.
I was very disappointed that she just kind of showed up on the screen and it was, and like all we found out was her husband was killed and she's trying to avenge his death.
Well, that plays
That's
into my
all
grapes.
we found out.
That plays
Like,
into my grapes with the film was that it felt like they were trying to tell too many stories in this film, and it felt like, I guess from a comic book reader standpoint, they were trying to go for that feel of reading a comic book.
Sure,
where you
somewhat,
kind of
where
jump
people just
around
show
from,
up.
Yeah,
and-
people just show up and you kind of don't necessarily know too much about a certain character until you kind of like are reading through something, or you
Sure.
know, you don't really need to know so much about
And
a
that's
certain
fair.
character.
I guess one
That's
way I looked
fair.
at it is because it's a movie about villains. We don't need as much backstory because
That's also
you know
very
what
true.
motivates somebody to be a villain. Like,
Yeah.
they want to have money, or they
guess-
just wanted to kill people, or whatever it is. You
Yeah.
need to know more about what motivates somebody to be a hero. Like, why did
didn't
they decide to go
entirely-
on this path? It's easier to be somebody who's not a hero.
And see, you mentioned that like you need a motivation for why the villain is a villain, and I didn't feel like it was very strong in this film. Like I kind of got the whole like these are gods that used to be like, you know, like I guess back in like the times where like there's ancient civilizations that honored like idols like this and such, but like I didn't really get it. Like why was she so pissed off and like I want to make this machine, and man is all about machine now. Like
I kind of meant
like-
that more in terms of like the Suicide Squad
no, I know,
themselves.
and I
but-
get that, but it kind of like
Yeah.
you know just when you were talking about the
I
villain
mean, it's just
wasn't
it's
too
a
strong.
very, very
Like,
weak villain
I
for a
didn't-
movie. No, I mean, in terms of,
I didn't-
was it a villain level? In terms of, do you need a team to stop this villain? Then yes, it felt big enough to need extra support.
Yeah,
to
it did,
stop
yes.
but it wasn't well developed,
I also felt like
and it was wasting a really good character because Enchantress is a good character, and they just wasted it.
I won't say that I was disappointed with Enchantress in the film.
She doesn't do anything. She stands in the same place.
she
for-
just says her
That's
name
true.
and then turns into a witch.
I like the visual representation, and I like
teleports.
I liked the parts towards the end where, you know, the big team battle happens, where they go after Enchantress and what is it, Grand Central Station? Was it Grand Central Station?
No.
It's Midway
It's-
City.
it's-
so
it's not
I don't know
New
what it was
York,
supposed
so-
to represent.
I
think it's
it
just a
looked
train
like a
station.
museum.
Yeah,
Something like that.
I think it's just a train station. I don't think there's like any. I mean, I think it's basically supposed to be something similar to Grand Central
Sure,
Station.
yeah.
But
because
okay,
Gotham-
that's not the point of.
Well, no, I'm
that's
saying
not the
like
point I'm trying to make. But I liked
What do you
I
say?
liked the speaking parts that she had.
Sure.
I think the character,
Well, Cara-
aside from the fact
what's
that
her-
she really didn't
Cara
do
Delevingne.
anything,
yeah, like she's not
was
a terrible
awesome.
actor. I'm not a big fan of her because I feel like she kind of throws in some lackluster performances here
Well,
and there.
she's
but,
a
like,
model that they tried to make into an actress.
Yeah,
I'm not
um,
expecting her to fucking be Meryl
So
Streep.
no, I'm not. I'm not.
this is also a comic book movie. It's not fucking.
I'm not
you
expecting
know,
that either. But like, I don't know. I feel like she kind of phoned it in at times, and it was like, oh.
I mean, it's hard to tell if she
she's-
phoned it in
like,
because
when
she
she's
has
June-
like 5 lines.
when
in
she's
the movie.
when she's June and she's like, oh, she's taking over my body. You do whatever
Yeah,
you
go
can.
get possessed
Do
by
it-
a witch and tell me how the fuck you react.
Well,
to
the
it.
one scene where she's like, do whatever you can to stop it, even if it means killing me. Like it didn't seem like she was like that
Well,
upset about the fact that she could have possibly die
I
because
think
she's
part
trying to get rid of
I
this
think
thing.
part of that might be that there's literally no background for any of it. Like, you're just jumping in and you have no context for what the relationship is or
and that is
who she
certainly
is as a
possible,
person.
yes.
Like, is she selfless? We don't know.
It's also very true.
But yeah, I felt like, and I guess I was a little upset at the fact that like the villains at the time were like fighting off the army with like the guns and like helicopters shooting at them and stuff. But then it just took like one pretty
Wait. Can I
bigger
say
bomb
something?
to take them down, and it was like
Can I say something? When they first encounter whatever the horde of
The whores.
the whores of Gotham
horrors
City.
of Gotham City. No, when they first encounter that horde of possessed
Yeah.
people that Enchantress has possessed, and everyone's like blowing their brains off with guns, and Harley Quinn's just baseball bat to the head, and
Yeah.
it's like, well, that's kind of what.
Those weren't
like-
very good alien, subhuman, whatever the hell they were
Oh,
supposed
but
to be.
it's also
things.
like
They do provide no context for how Harley was a doctor and then she kicks ass. Like
right,
right
Harley
after that.
Quinn's fight skills were like
I certainly-
amazing, and I'm just like, wait, how the hell did that
I
happen?
certainly feel like a lot of Harley Quinn, and while Margot Robbie was amazing in this film, don't get me wrong, I loved every bit of her on screen. I thought she was great. I felt
every
like a lot of it,
voluptuous bit.
well, that kind of goes along with it. I honestly felt like she was only in there a lot of times as a sex symbol. Oh,
No.
how many times?
See,
I don't think so.
I
I think
feel
she's
like
the
so.
embodiment
I
of the
felt like
role.
I felt like it was how many times can we show her ass in these tiny little shorts
I think there
that
were
she had
parts.
on?
I think there were parts where she was very over sexualized. Like when there's a part where she's
Every single
just
time she walked away,
Wait,
it
what
was
it?
how many close-up shots could we get on her
Well,
ass?
no, there was the whole part where, like the part where she's changing and putting on her get up. I get that.
That was
That made
funny,
sense.
though. They made it into like a thing
That
where
made
everybody's
sense.
watching.
But
her.
wasn't there a part where she got off the elevator and she walks away, and the three dudes, I think it's
and they
Deadshot,
showed her ass.
Deadshot,
like in every scene she's in.
Deadshot, the
Killer Croc and Diablo.
No, it wasn't Diablo.
Boomerang?
It was the military
Probably Rick
guy.
Flag.
Yeah, Rick.
Flag.
And
His
they
name
just
is actually Flag. That's so weird.
they just are staring at her ass, and it's just like, oh no, we're not worried about a cataclysmic world-ending event. Let's stare at her ass. Like,
Well,
I mean, there was things like that kind of just
yeah, and I agree.
felt like too much.
I did personally enjoy the scene though where Jared Leto turns into Paul Allen, and you feel like he's going to the thing. He's going to be killed later by American Psycho himself, but Steven doesn't get that reference.
No,
'cause
I
he's
do.
never
I've
seen
seen
the movie.
American Psycho.
I
for
literally
fuck's
just wanted
sake.
to say, like, when we were watching the movie, I wanted to say something to him, but I felt like he wouldn't.
What's all the
understand
newspaper
reference.
for?
Why is he playing a Huey Lewis in the news CD? What is going on? But I thought it was funny. I made a joke to him when that happened in the theater when like Enchantress is doing the whole "I know what you want" thing, and they show the kind of the visions. I made a joke to him. I was like, "Oh, so Harley Quinn wants to marry Jared Leto and start it and be in 30 Seconds to
Paul
Mars."
Allen.
Like, yes, and Paul Allen.
But
I mean,
I thought that was funny though. That's the only
that
thing
was
going through
one
my head.
aspect of the story that was weird was that they completely changed the Joker Harley dynamic like a lot.
I thought it was
Yeah.
interesting
Where
too.
like Jared Leto basically played her part and she played his. Where
Yeah.
like he cared more about her than she cared about him.
yeah, it was kind of
'Cause, like,
off-putting to
They
me.
think that he dies in the helicopter crash, and then she's just like, "Oh, I'm over it already."
It was kind of interesting to me too, like that when it got to that point where she's like, "I know what you really want," and like they were showing those visions, but like there was no, and like this might just be nitpicking on my part, so you guys can feel free to bash me here. You're gonna do it anyway,
Probably.
But like I felt like it was really weird to be like, "I know what you guys want," and like show those visions when there was literally no mention of her being able to like read minds or like
she's
do
a
it.
witch.
Fucking
or, like-
witch.
but, like-
what the fuck, Dan?
No, listen to me.
This is like
Let-
the last show where
Let
you're
me
like,
explain my point.
oh, have they started
She
filming Captain Marvel yet?
That's not what I
No,
said.
no
Okay.
shit, they haven't fucking started filming a movie.
All right,
And no shit,
the next
she's a
sound you're
witch.
gonna hear is
She's
me
fucking
slapping
doing black
Steven.
magic. For fuck's sake.
My point is that like they didn't really focus on any of that point until that specific part of the movie when it kind of felt
It didn't.
it felt like it was convenient for the
Stop
narrative.
yelling.
It didn't seem like
The listeners
they really,
at home don't appreciate
They
it.
Well,
really
I'm being
needed
blasted right
to
now,
focus
so-
on that at all.
Dan,
until
we're gonna
that point.
take you and film you watching the entirety of Doctor Strange just to see how you react to all the sorcery and shit that
I
happens.
know
in
what
that
Doctor
film.
Strange is. Shut up.
But
I'm not a fan of the guy who's
I
casted
wanna,
for it.
I,
But
I kind of want to bring it back a little bit to the character development and the building of relationships and understanding of characters. Like I said, Deadshot and Harley Quinn, you know,
and I think that's the
well,
consensus.
They
We
were the
were-
main characters of the movie.
we were very much pushed to understand those characters, but then there were characters that came in that were the one guy. Who was the one guy that they blew his head off because he tried to escape?
Slipknot.
He was there for like 5 seconds.
I mean, I think we all just assumed that though in trailers
Well,
that he was going to be the person who dies.
Yeah, but I mean,
I like how it happens. where
kind of going back to what I said about the whole like the witch knowing what they wanted. I thought it was interesting that the only thing that Deadshot wanted was to kill Batman. He didn't want anything like a good life for his
No,
daughter
see,
or anything.
That's what
like,
you don't.
But that's
that-
what creates his good life is not having Batman around because
And
Batman's
yeah,
who put him in jail.
And I guess
But
I
the other
get that,
thing is-
yes, but like I guess in the sense of what he wanted more, I guess I was expecting more so like for because the whole point of like his character was kind of like he even though he was doing all these things,
The
he still
point of
wanted his
that
daughter.
scene-
I think what they were
to be
trying to
like-
prove was that he blames Batman for not.
No.
and that's
being there.
and that's certainly possible. I'm not saying that's
Yeah.
not
the
true.
point of that
I'm just
scene
I
is
felt
to
like
get
you know,
inside their heads.
Well, yeah,
and to
it's to
fuck with
twist
them.
them around.
Well, yes,
It's to
I
make
know
them,
that. I
It's
know
to make
that.
them think that they're bad people or that they're fucked up or that their lives are not worth having. He wanted to think. She wanted him to think.
boy, I'd be afraid to see what she sees about my life.
Because you remember when Diablo snapped them out of it, and Deadshot's just like, I killed the bat.
yeah,
I killed the
Oh,
bat.
you don't want that.
And
Yeah.
and like
How killed you kill Ben Affleck?
and you know it was to fuck with their heads and make
No,
them think
and I get that, and I'm
and
not
throw
saying
them off guard.
I'm not saying that was like a very like poor point of the movie. That's not what I was saying. I was just surprised that like there wasn't anything really in there about like what he wanted his daughter to become, because like every other point about what Deadshot wanted in the movie, like when he's saying, all right, I will only join Suicide Squad under these conditions.
If you
and, like,
do
all this
white
stuff, it was,
people
like,
things.
Well, what I'm
Can
saying
we also
is,
talk
like,
about the
how he's, like-
stereotyping of this film?
I
think
thought they
black
did.
stereotypes.
We're not really finishing any topics. We're just moving
No,
from topic to
it's
topic.
just
I thought they
that's
did a
what
great
this show
job.
is. We fuck up everything.
I think
It's
they did
okay.
a great job of having a lot of because a lot of things in Hollywood nowadays get a lot of flack for not having people of color and women
Well, that's
in lead roles.
certainly an interesting topic, considering that it's already blowing up on the internet between DC and Marvel fans.
Yeah. But I think they did a great job of having a lot of strong people of color, especially Deadshot and the like lead lady whose name escapes me at the moment for some reason.
Amanda
Waller.
Yeah,
Waller.
like I felt like those two characters were very strong. They did not back down from anything when when Deadshot's threatening them when they found her in the office in the building, and she walks out and they're like, what the hell, like this is what we came here for.
That kind of
And she's about to kill, she's like, screw it, I'll just kill you guys, I don't care. Like, she didn't give a shit, and I thought that was a very strong role for her to play. And I thought, like, again, like I said about
I
Margot
didn't
Robbie,
personally love the way she played the part.
I thought she was
was,
okay.
but-
I think she did well enough. I would have liked more out of the character. I would have liked a little bit more out of explaining why she didn't die.
I would have liked to see her
but-
be a little bit more of a villain than she was kind of like. They were setting her up to be like, I've got all these fucking, criminals and killers at my disposal, and I've got the kill switch in my hand. I can make them do whatever I want. And it kind of sets up for that at one point.
She doesn't
but
kill
then
anybody.
She doesn't fucking do anything.
That's the
and it's
eventual
just like-
idea, I believe, but
and it's
didn't really
just-
happen in this
it's just
movie.
like,
Um,
okay.
the one part me and Steven can't get over is the when Enchantress finally gets like her machine kind of built and she's destroying shit around the globe. Why was there a random camera on an aircraft carrier in the middle of the ocean? Where did that come from?
Well, there's not really supposed to be a camera there. It's just slice of life stuff.
No, when they're showing it. When they're...
Was that on the show?
No, that's not going to be on the show. You won't hear that.
Okay,
My computer, it just gave a verbal alert of some crap.
Anywho, but yeah, just the random camera on the aircraft carrier felt very weird.
No, it's when they're like in the situation room.
And then the
they're,
other
like,
one,
seeing all the
the-
stuff happening around the world.
the
as
other
it-
one we
as
can't
it's-
stop joking
as it's
about,
going on.
is
Let
where-
me fucking talk for 5 seconds.
I was already talking.
Well, I'm trying to explain to Matt. I don't think Matt understood what you were saying. They're in the situation room and they're seeing everything unfold on the screen, and there's literally video footage on the screen of an aircraft carrier in the middle of the ocean.
You think that the American government doesn't have
No,
cameras
what
on
I'm-
aircraft
But, like,
carriers?
the point was, it was just a
Like,
random. It wasn't
really
even a camera
random.
on the carrier. It was a camera that was like away from the carrier, focusing on the carrier. Like there was another boat just constantly with a camera just focusing on that carrier.
Maybe it's
that
supposed to be
probably
satellite imagery.
happened.
Come on,
Who
man.
knows?
It was not
Just
satellite
saying,
imagery.
It felt a little out there.
And then the other one where he's like, "This is a secret lair," or "This is a secret place. How did she find it?" like it was so hard for her to find it with her witch powers. Like she stole Iranian nuclear plans. Like how was it so hard for her to find secret government lairs in the United States? Like, come on, dude.
I don't know. They never met her before.
I felt like a lot of the comedy, and Steven will agree with me, I felt like a lot of the
forced
comedy was really
jokes.
forced, and it was just like really, really just like, boy, you should have just...
Normal's only a
Ugh.
setting on a washing machine. Thank you, Hot Topic. Like,
I mean,
Wasn't that the
I would have
basis of the
preferred they
Harley
just
Quinn
made it
character?
a darker movie myself, but
I
I mean,
liked...
they went
I
for
just
a
felt like the-
comedy angle on it.
I will say one thing. Even though some of the comedy was very forced and very very kind of canned, it was nice to see a DC film that didn't take itself too seriously at points, which I think is somewhat of DC's downfall. Is they try to make everything way too serious.
I mean, one of the reasons why I prefer DC movies is because they're more serious.
Are we talking like...
Well,
So, I
look,
mean, for me, that didn't
to
really-
each their own, and that's
I didn't
that's
really
understandable.
care that they were adding humor to it at all.
To
Are we
each their own,
including-
and that's understandable. But I think that's the part of the reason that I'm not a big DC films guy,
were we
is because
including
everything is kind of just so
I mean, if
serious
you
all
look
the time.
at DC Comics, they're the same way.
Well, that's
though.
probably also
they're
a reason
more
I don't
adult
read DC
stories,
comics.
and they're darker, and there's not a lot of hope in a lot of them.
Are we including the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy in
Yeah,
this?
fuck
Well,
Batman.
those are darker movies too.
I felt like those were pretty good though, and I felt like.
But they took themselves seriously. There was no comedy in
I
them.
feel like
there was
that-
none of.
But see, I'm under the impression that those movies up the Marvel Cinematic Universe to an extent where they were willing to get a little more dark in their movies.
Well, I mean,
Because
Marvel's
of
made
how
one,
well they were-
one movie that is even borderline dark, and that's Civil War. And
Oh, whoa!
one
Winter
other dark
Soldier.
movie. That's not a dark movie. It's a
Really?
political thriller.
It's kind of it gets pretty
Anywho.
dark at points.
It is not. Civil War could have really nailed that vibe if there was literally anything at stake whatsoever. Nothing
true.
happens in the movie.
True.
If that movie didn't have Spider-Man and Black Panther in it, it's like a 5.
I have kind of a point to make about Suicide
Try to argue
Squad.
me on that point that movie is a good movie without 2 new characters in it.
This isn't a Civil War discussion. This is Suicide Squad.
I have kind of a point to make about Suicide Squad. I don't know how you guys feel, so feel free to chime in. I felt like the music was just there
too much music.
to be the music. It didn't really add anything to the story. It was just, wow, look at these extensive list of tracks we can get on our soundtrack. And it felt like, and again, agree to disagree with me if you feel like, I felt like at points it tried too hard to be Guardians of the Galaxy.
I don't think it tried too hard to be Guardians of the Galaxy. I think there's only certain ways you can do team superhero movies, especially when you've got
And
a
that's
bunch
fair.
of
That's a fair point.
you've got a bunch of ragtag characters like the Suicide Squad or like the Guardians of the Galaxy.
I guess I mean, playing Spirit of the Sky and like a big point of the movie.
I can
guess
almost
was
guarantee
like,
you.
okay,
I can almost guarantee you when
That's kind of what they were going for.
Justice League comes out, people are going to be like, "Oh, it feels like Avengers." Well, there's only so many ways you can do.
Well, I mean, how else do you do that movie?
Exactly.
How did you, Matt? Like, just out of curiosity, how did you feel about the music? Did you feel like it was just kind of like a point where it became overkill, or did you feel like it like added a lot to the movie? I felt, because I personally feel like there was just too much of it, and it didn't really give you a chance to like absorb anything.
It didn't make sense why they were adding music to some things that were in it, but I get what they were going for. Like,
I guess
they were trying to go for like a more trendy,
and
like,
I can
current
understand
vibe
that, yeah.
with things. But
And
I
I guess the redeeming quality of it is they picked good music to use, so I wasn't like,
they
oh,
did. It
this
wasn't-
is bad
it wasn't
song.
bad music.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
I guess my point was just there was too much of it. Like in the beginning of the movie, you're given like one song, then they go to another scene, you're giving another song, then they go to another scene, you're giving another. Like it was
Right.
just like there was no time
There's no
to
flow.
like.
Well,
I
the
mean, but
thing-
that's
It
a
just felt like it
general-
was there
yeah.
because it's like, oh, we can use as much music as we want because Warner Brothers and everything else. And it
Well,
was
the open when each character is being introduced and they have their own kind of theme music.
it was very
kind of-
cliche too.
Yeah, it felt kind of cliche, but I would have liked to see them have kept some of the. I can hear you lipping things in the audio. Anyway, you two are trying to talk to
Sorry.
each other off.
Well,
off
I was
mic.
trying to be quiet about it, but
But I think it would have been cool to see them keep with some of the audio or music synchronization to the action like they did in the trailers, in the actual film.
I mean, there was a big disconnect between what you saw in
Yeah,
trailers and
the
what actually happened in the
trailers-
movie because
yeah.
the trailers had scenes that aren't even in the movie.
That's very
like
true.
a lot of scenes
Yeah.
that
Did you
aren't
see the
in the
guy?
movie.
Did you see the guy that's apparently trying to sue Warner Brothers in the UK because?
Well, in the UK, it could actually fly because law
Yeah.
is very, very different.
he's trying
there.
to sue, I guess, Warner Brothers or whoever made the film for the fact that scenes that were in the trailer are not in the film and that the Joker was not in it as much.
Said
as
it's false
he
advertising.
was.
Is his thought process.
He's
on it.
legit. You know
I
what
mean,
I'm
it's
talking about,
technically
right?
not
Yeah.
wrong.
He's not wrong,
But he's
and
not
that's
right.
why.
But if any
Well-
judge does anything
'Cause,
in
like,
court with
wait,
this,
let's-
like,
let-
come on.
okay.
You're
so-
thinking about it in American terms, though.
It's very true.
True.
In Europe, it's completely different. Like this might actually get somewhere in Europe
I kind of want to see where
because
this
he's
goes.
also
honestly.
complaining because he drove from Scotland to London
Well,
to
that
go
was
see
his
the
own.
movie.
That was his own dumb fault when he could have
because
just gone
that's
to
where
Glasgow.
it opened. It opened in London.
He could have just gone to Glasgow though.
But
I don't. 300 miles.
They
I
did
don't
that
give a
with. They did that with. I think they've done that with the last 2 Marvel movies.
shit. People sued.
No, they didn't get sued, but they showed stuff in trailers to kind of sway your
I don't think it was
visual
to
or
this
your
level,
idea
though,
of.
where-
No, definitely not. But
So, all right. So since we've kind of had this long discussion, I guess what was your overall thoughts on the movie? Like,
Well,
if
wait. I wanna go back to
Okay, all right,
kind
sorry.
of talking about the cast
Okay.
and
All right.
whatnot real quick.
All right.
I was very excited to see David Harbour in the film after seeing him in Stranger Things. I have become.
He was in the newsroom. That's where I saw him first, and I
Yeah.
couldn't put my finger on where I remembered him from. And then Steven mentioned it on our way to get lunch after the movie, and I was like, "Yep, that's where I know."
I
him
was
from.
very excited to see him on the big screen. So I don't want to say so soon after Stranger Things. I'm not sure which actually filmed first.
Oh, Suicide Squad.
Probably.
Yeah.
But it was a nice.
I didn't think he was that great though.
No, I don't want to say his role was fantastic or whatever, but it was nice to see him in a pretty big budget
I
film.
really hope Winona Ryder's career takes off after Stranger Things.
Well, at least you
I'm
were
sorry, I
looking
don't.
forward to like a bit part in the movie.
Yeah.
That ended up being a bit part.
Yeah.
Like I was really looking forward to Jared Leto, and that ended up being a bit part that
Okay,
he
I
shot
wanna
like
s-
45 minutes for.
I want to speak to Jared Leto for a minute though, because I was very skeptical going into this film with him playing the Joker, seeing all the advertising and the way they kind of they set this Joker up.
Yeah.
And I was actually very impressed with his.
I thought he was great.
interpretation.
I was very happy with what he did with it.
I felt some Mark Hamill influence in there at points.
You could.
It was very
sincerely
nice.
You can sincerely tell.
Move into your microphone, Dan.
Sorry, I'm trying not to yell. You can sincerely tell that he took a lot of influence from the Heath Ledger Joker. I felt like there were a lot of points where
I think he took a lot of influence from every Joker.
No, you're right. You're right. I'm not saying he didn't, but I felt like there were points where like he would say something and it sounded just like I was watching The Dark Knight.
But like I said, his laugh was
Which-
very kind of Mark Hamill-esque,
Yeah.
and he.
Well, that's the way it should be.
Yeah, and
That's
I was-
the
should be,
way
exactly.
that every other
Yeah.
person who's played the part should be.
And I
Although
was
I-
pleasantly
I-
surprised with how he portrayed the Joker
I
because
was.
I did not have.
Yeah,
high
I was very
expectations
impressed
going
with
in
it,
for
and I'm glad they didn't try and make him super edgy like it seemed like they were trying to do, especially.
I don't know why people got that impression, except for the fact that he has
Well,
tattoos.
the
Other than that,
tattoos
they never
thing-
really led to the direction
I
that he
wasn't a
was going to
huge
be
fan of the
super
tattoos.
edgy and out in the
Well, I
middle
think
of
it
nowhere.
was also like the metallic hair
Does he have like
and
not so much
that
braces,
kind of thing.
but isn't there kind of like something on his teeth?
He has
too,
his
like-
teeth knocked out by Batman. That's why he has it. It's been confirmed.
Okay, I see. I would have liked to have seen that at some point, like maybe in that first scene where
It's
like,
been
he catches
confirmed through
Margot.
DC that
Yeah.
that's why
Okay.
his mouth is all messed up. That Batman knocked his teeth out,
Yeah. Okay.
And
but
why
it's not in the movie.
That's like J.J. Abrams coming back and being like, "This is why this specific scene was in Star Wars," even though they could have just explained it. In Star
I don't know
Wars.
if they shot that for the movie and they just didn't play it.
Probably
but
not.
I
They
don't
were
even
probably
think they
just trying
shot
to
that for the
explain
movie.
why he looked that way.
Buy the Blu-ray and find out.
The 6-hour extended edition.
I mean, they're trying to lead you to believe that there will be no extended edition for this one.
I find that really hard to believe.
With all those scenes that Jared Leto apparently filmed, I feel like that's
David Ayer says that the version of the movie you saw is the director's cut of the movie, and there will be nothing else.
All right,
Which
sure.
is-
I'm sure the studio wasn't.
What
at
about the
any point
producer's
like-
cut?
That's not the director's cut of the
I'm-
movie.
I'm
That's
pretty
the
sh-
version of the movie that Warner Brothers wanted to put
Exactly.
out.
At what point was it where? Who,
I'm sure the director's cut of the movie, based on everything else he's ever made, was a lot more depressing
Yeah, I feel like
and had a lot more gunshots. And
I feel like the studio probably
violence.
had a heavy hand on this film.
probably
But
overall
I don't know.
thoughts.
I don't think it was horrible. I really don't. I don't
Not so
think
much
it was
giving
as
it
bad
a
as.
score, but how would you?
I don't
rate
think it. Well, like, when I first saw all the critic reviews where everyone's like, what was the one you read from Rolling Stone? Something about like this team of horrible people has a horrible movie or something like that. I'm
It
just
wasn't.
like,
It wasn't that critical of it. It was basically saying that like the action scenes were good, the movie itself was fun, but like there were a lot of points where like the narrative was kind of all over the place, which is one of my big gripes about it. I felt like the narrative jumped a lot and it didn't really
it's
flow.
one of the most poorly edited films I've ever seen.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah,
So, I mean, it's not a surprise that
I
people
guess-
say that it jumps all over the place
Honestly-
because it does.
honestly, I guess that's kind of how I felt about it. I don't want to say like it was so much that the narrative didn't go together, so much that it was just so poorly put together that
But-
it felt like it was just jumping everywhere.
that's why
and
I
like
think-
I couldn't focus on one part of the story at a time. I felt like I needed to know too many things at too many times.
see, that's why I think it was more of akin to actually reading a comic book, Because
In
when
ways,
you sit down,
yeah.
like when you sit down and read like a single issue comic, especially a comic that's in the middle of a story arc.
I guess my point is that
this,
just doesn't
like what DC's trying to set up now, where you have the extended universe, so you might need to know something about a previous film, or you might need to have some kind of an idea of what's coming, and you're kind of put into the middle of something.
I guess my point is that just
it felt
doesn't
really akin to that,
that just
especially
doesn't.
jumping around and not getting too much of somebody's backstory.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I guess
I also feel like sorry. I don't
guess
mean to cut you off.
What I'm
again.
trying to say is, I guess that just doesn't work as well on film as they would like it to, because it's just too much going on, and you're like, well, wait, what just happened here? But then you're like, oh, wait, what happened here?
I feel like DC was also really trying to hype this film through their actual print sales as well, because they were doing a lot of. And I mean, Marvel does the same thing when they put out a movie, but they were putting out a lot of things that were very centric to these characters in this film to get people to know these characters. So they were kind of putting somewhat retelling of origins, kind of more centric to these film characters out and things like that. And I think they were trying to drive print sales by doing that. And
Well, it's smart.
and
I'm kinda
hope
surprised.
that people would go buy these books and read on these characters and know them coming into the film. Because I came into the film not knowing half of the characters, but and I feel like I still don't know half the characters, except for I know that Diablo
Deadshot,
is
Diablo,
Well,
Margot, or
I
Harley
know of
Quinn,
Deadshot and I knew of Harley Quinn, obviously.
Yeah.
But like Diablo, I wasn't too very well versed on, and I feel like I don't know much about him other than the fact that he's a hot-headed Mexican and he sets stuff on
Well,
fire.
apparently he
like,
dies in this movie, so I guess we're not going to find out.
Well, let's just say this: we don't know what happens. They don't really resolve that. We just
it pretty
assume
much
he's dead,
sets him
but-
up that he's the devil. Like he's like
Comes
also
out with
like
that
a,
Aztec warrior get up, and I'm
he-
like,
But his name is El Diablo. He's literally called the devil.
we
Right.
know that.
Like-
But that might just be because he catches on fire. Like, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's got the
when
power
your
of
nickname
the
is
devil.
El Diablo and you turn into some devil-looking creature from
Matt can correct us if we're wrong, because I don't know the origin of the character, so I'm not going to pretend like I do. But I feel like that could also just be, like I said, because he has the power to basically shoot fire out of his hands and torch stuff to whatever
I mean,
he
in
wants
terms
to.
of the
and, like-
character, that's just his gang nickname on the street.
yeah, exactly.
It's
That's
not
what I'm
supposed to
saying.
really
Like, I don't think
necessarily
they're
stand
supposed to
for
say he's
anything,
like
but-
literally got the devil's powers
Real
and
quick,
that he could do what the
correct
devil
me
does.
if I'm wrong. They took some creative liberties with the character in the film.
Some, yeah.
So, I mean, it's not supposed to be a true one-to-one representation. But
Keep
I mean,
reminding me of the guy that has the tattoos all over his face.
what?
Isn't there
does
like
have
some
tattoos
famous
all
guy
over his
that has like
face.
tattoos like all over him or something?
Yeah, the Lizard Man.
Not the lizard man. The guy
Talking
that
about
like
the actor.
Oh no! You're talking about that guy that's a model. He did stuff with
Yeah.
Lady Gaga.
he reminded like every time I looked at him, I'm like, is that the same guy? And I know it wasn't, but like I kept thinking of that guy.
Okay, because he's got
you know.
tattoos on his face. Big deal.
Well,
They look similar.
regardless, I guess final thought wise, I mean, I really liked it. I think they established a couple characters
If you-
in here, which
if-
is good.
If you had to give it a score, just for conversation's sake.
I'd probably go 6.5.
All right.
I liked the movie. I didn't love it,
Um,
but it's enough that I'll buy it. I enjoyed it. I'm curious about the deleted stuff that'll probably be on the DVD.
No director's cut. You don't get any of it.
I feel like
I think Warner is leaving money on the table if they don't put the deleted scenes on the disc.
Probably.
my final thoughts on the movie were
They're gonna do like they did with X-Men and give you just a whole nother release with added,
Right, the Rogue
added,
cut. Yeah.
all the added footage.
The Joker cut, where they actually add in all the scenes that were supposed to be in the movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed to mention this to Steven earlier because he wanted me to hold off for the podcast, but a lot of points of contention with the Avengers was it was more focused on like the characters as opposed to like the story based around the characters. Like like here's Iron Man, here's him doing Iron Man things, or here's Hulk, here's him doing Hulk things. And I felt like part of this movie was kind of felt the same way that I felt about Avengers, whereas the narrative was kind of weak, but the characters were kind of stronger in the sense of.
In Avengers, you can get away with that because all those characters are built up ahead of time. You even knew the villain, so you needed no background on it.
I'm just
see,
saying.
that's the
I'm just
thing,
saying.
like-
I feel like a lot of the criticism or a lot of my feelings on the film were kind of similar to like they felt like they could just say, all right, we have Harley Quinn, we have Joker, we have this. We could bank off the fact that this movie is going to be good because of them, opposed to the narrative flowing, being good.
I almost feel now, looking at it, the way, like, when you look at the whole presentation and the way that they played, like, that Deadshot, like, what do you really want scene?
Yeah.
It almost feels like they really just did the whole movie just to set up Deadshot and Harley Quinn and Amanda Waller, and everything else was kind of just...
Honestly,
a lot of
everything else was just set up for,
yeah,
like, a sequel.
And,
yes.
the characters, aside from that, Killer Croc, Diablo, Boomerang, they all felt really disposable, really kind of just...
Well, I would expect
thrown in
Boomerang
there.
to show back up in The Flash. The solo
yeah.
film.
Oh yeah, well we didn't even mention,
because I mean,
Ezra
out of
Miller's
all the
cameo
characters,
in the
out of
film.
all the characters that I wanted to see more of in the movie, Boomerang was the one I wanted to see more of in general, because all of his scenes were great.
His character was literally,
and the Flash cameo is one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Yeah,
Boomerang's
when Flash
character
showed up, I was like, wait, what?
Boomerang's
Hello?
character was literally, I'm Australian, I drink beer. That was literally his character.
Oh yeah, and I
felt
made
like,
a joke when they went to get drinks. He was like, "Did he have a Foster's?"
Like literally, I felt like he was such a dynamic character that they could have done so much more, and they just basically only banked out the fact he was Australian. And
that's why
really
I almost
kinda
feel
bothered
like he was either set up for like a Suicide Squad sequel, or they were just including him so that they can later include him in the Flash solo movie.
Do we think we're gonna get a sequel from this though?
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get something out of it.
Well,
I mean, we're
know,
getting a Harley
whether
Quinn
it's
solo
Suicide
movie.
Squad 2.
Well, that's the thing.
Yes,
are we
definitely.
gonna see Suicide Squad 2, or are we gonna see
Although
branch off
with the way
films?
that the movie ends, I'm not even sold that you're going to get the Harley Quinn solo movie next, because it kind of seems more
Probably
like
not.
the end of that movie is supposed to lead into the Batman solo.
Part of
movie
this felt
more.
like the Harley Quinn solo movie.
Well, yeah, I mean, she's the
No,
not
and I'm
the
not
lead
saying-
character, but she's the second lead
and
character.
Yeah,
of the movie.
I'm not saying that like
But-
that wasn't a obvious thing. I'm just saying like part of this felt like you don't need to have this Harley Quinn solo film because you basically got everything you needed to
But
know.
it feels
from this.
like they set it up to be, Deadshot can be an anti-hero and lead his own movie,
yeah.
and Harley Quinn and the Joker are going back to Gotham to fuck with Batman. And
I'm
then the
really
rest of these people are
hoping-
going to sit around and wait for Suicide Squad to be back.
I want Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy in a
Well,
buddy.
if you've read the
film.
comics, who doesn't want to see
I
Harley
wanna
and
see
Ivy
that
as
so
a
bad.
movie?
I want to see it.
I've
so
even said it
bad.
to somebody else. I'd rather see a Harley and Ivy movie than the thought process behind what the Harley Quinn solo movie was going
It's
to
funny
be.
when
Like Birds
Stevens-
of Prey and all the other nonsense.
Yeah.
I don't want to see
Birds of
that. I'd rather
Prey.
just see
The It's
Harley and
Always
Ivy.
Sunny when
No,
they
Dan,
become
not-
wrestlers.
That's the
No.
Birds of War.
I know what. I know. It's funny that Steven says all this because today we were talking about Batman at lunch and he's like, Batman sucks.
I don't like
Batman's
Batman.
awful.
No,
blah, blah,
listen,
blah, blah, blah. And
listen,
he's
I don't
all
like
about the
Batman.
villains in the Batman universe.
I mean,
but-
Batman's
No, listen,
my
listen,
favorite comic
Batman's-
character, obviously.
Agreed. Me too, Matt. Me too.
Batman's villains are so much better than
Down
Batman.
with Spider-Man, up with Batman.
That's what
Batman's villains are
makes
so
a
much better than
hero
Batman.
interesting is good villains. That's why Spider-Man is so
Batman
popular.
doesn't have any
And-
superpowers.
But
He just kicks
Batman-
people's ass. He doesn't need webs and weird spidey senses.
Why are you
but
yelling?
he needs
Because
all
Steven
his
loves
fancy
Spider-Man, so
bullshit.
if I can make fun of Spider-Man, Steven
But
gets really
Spider-Man
mad.
is a more popular Marvel character than like the lead Marvel characters of like Captain America and Iron Man because his villains are more interesting than Captain America
it's
and
also
Iron
true.
Man.
Yes.
It's very true. But I think Spider-Man can stand on his own.
Well,
I think.
yeah.
I mean,
has the built-in audience to stand on its own.
but it's like, I don't know. I don't see the major allure of Batman himself more than I see the allure of Harley Quinn or the Joker.
That's why I like the Christopher Nolan trilogy so much, because I felt like he did such a good job of building the backstory of Batman and Bruce Wayne, not just...
the whole first movie is building the
Yeah.
backstory of Batman,
And I think he
then
did
every
a
other
great
movie is
job.
about the villains.
Yeah, and I think he did a great job with that. So, and then I think that's one of the reasons the Christopher Nolan trilogy gets as much praise as it does. But Steve, me and Matt gave our final thoughts on Suicide. What are yours?
I said I enjoyed the film.
If you had to give it a
said
score.
it wasn't fantastic and wasn't horrible.
If you had to give it a score.
Um,
Because I personally...
not being a DC guy, I'll give it a 6. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. I mean,
This is weird because I feel like out of the three of us, I enjoyed it the least. Not to say I hated it, but I would give it a 7. I think it was a solid 7, and Matt
so
gave it a
clearly
6.5.
you didn't enjoy it the least.
Well, I'm saying
I like
based
the
on
movie a lot, but I wouldn't rate that high.
based on what I'm saying. Well, when I say a 7, I'm saying it was basically
If
a
we were
run-of-the-mill
gonna call-
average
if this-
fun film to watch that has some plot holes and
If
issues
this
that
movie
needs to
was
work on.
called Harley Quinn and Deadshot, I would have given it like an
No.
8.
I
Well,
wouldn't
because
have
then it
given- no.
accomplished what it set out to do.
Yeah, exactly. But because it was set up as a team film, and I even though I knew Deadshot and Harley Quinn were going to be, kind of the focus of the team, I didn't expect the rest of the team to kind of be just almost extras in the film.
I guess the whole overarching point that I feel like we're all making here, and I feel like a lot of the general consensus is, it was fun, it was a decent film, but it just never hit that point where it could have been great. It just never got to the point where they could have had a scene or like a certain turning point that made it into a great
Warner
film.
Brothers made sure that it would never get there by messing with the movie so much that there's no possible way it could have been a great film.
All right, so I think we all got our grievances out with Suicide Squad.
Our grievances? You make it sound like we hated it. We just all gave it.
I didn't hate
like
the movie,
pretty decent
no.
scores.
No, but I'm trying to wrap up the show.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Host.
I mentioned that was going to be our first topic, and we just hit an hour. So
well, I mean,
be our only
there is a
topic.
lot of ground to cover with that movie. Like it's not a simple topic at this point to discuss.
Like,
I mean, we didn't even talk about everything surrounding that movie really either.
We're good.
We don't
Not
have
to
enough
stretch it
time
out.
left.
I'm just saying
We
that
don't
we
have
didn't
enough
even talk about
time left.
everything, and we talked for an hour.
This leaves conversations for other times.
Yeah,
course.
but we also talked for 20 minutes about all the bullshit that we talked about before we started talking
course,
about
yeah.
Suicide
That's how long
Squad.
it took Dan to tell his story.
But
I didn't say it. You did.
but
You were gonna if I didn't. Let's be honest.
I think we're gonna try and wrap it up there. Before we leave, I just want to remind everyone at home that you can find the Deep Six Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat,
And Tinder.
all at Deep Six Podcast.
You know Tinder Social, where it has like 3 people and it says we're going out. That you'll see me, Steve, and Matt, and we're all gonna have smiles on our faces like we're going to the club, hoping that we get some ladies to come with us.
What the hell is Tinder Social?
Oh, you're missing out, my friend. No, you're not. It's dumb.
Okay.
Basically, you can pair up with other people, say you're going out, and then like their group and
Oh,
say
so
you're
it's
going out
like-
with your friends.
it's-
So that basically, instead of just hooking up with one person, you're getting 3 of your friends to.
You're hooking up with 3 of your friends.
No.
This got weird.
So iTunes.
Okay, let's wrap that up.
But yeah, Dan, iTunes, please subscribe if you haven't already. iTunes.
Steven's on Grindr.
No, I'm not. Subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher Radio, or Podbean. You can find us by searching the Deep Six Podcast on any of those providers. You can follow any of us on social media. Dan, what are your tweets and your Instas and your faces and your books?
Well, my Facebook's not the same as my Twitter and my Instagram. But my Twitter and Instagram are both at @D_Spivak. I don't remember what my Facebook is. Just search my
doesn't
name.
matter.
Just search my name or go on our social media.
Twitter
You'll
and
find
Instagram
me.
is there.
Because they did this weird thing when you first signed up for Facebook, where whatever you signed up for that time was the thing you would always sign up for until they let you change it like 2 years later. But I don't even remember
It's
what
a
I
long
changed it to.
story.
Dan, no
You know
one
what?
cares.
You know what? You asked me what my Facebook was. I had to explain it to the universe.
Matt, where can they find you on Twitter, Instagram, or whatever else
Sure.
you want to plug?
I'm on Twitter at the Matt Barnes, Instagram at the Matthew Barnes, and of course my personal blog, The Doormat Review.
See, that's how you do it.
Shut up.
man.
Shut up. Don't even talk. Just go to your next bullet point.
And of course, you can go to thedeep6podcast.com, not the Deep Six.
Don't follow
Never
Steven.
did
He
that.
has the worst Twitter account in history.
You can go to at Deep Six Podcast. Follow us on social media, like I already said, or you can just head on over to deep6podcast.com and find links to anything and everything related to social media or anything related to our podcast.
Please like us. Oh my God.
Don't forget, this coming Monday, I will be a guest on the Gods and Monsters podcast, which we will leave a link to in the show notes. And I'm sure we'll also put a link to that on Facebook and every other form of social media.
Grindr.
And, yes, Steven's Grinder. And don't forget that on Sunday, August 21st, we will attempt yet another live podcast for WWE SummerSlam.
A 6-hour extravaganza.
That will
Good
probably
Lord.
start at 4 in the afternoon and end at 6 a.m. because that's how long WWE likes to make their shows these days. But if you're a wrestling fan, please tune in. It will be a blast. of fun. Matt will be joining us this time, hopefully.
And even if you're not a wrestling fan, tune in, because when we did the WWE draft show, we were talking about things
yeah,
that
we
weren't
talked about
related
other
to the
things.
draft.
Pokemon.
It was a great way to just interact with the audience and
AKA
have
Art
a
Miles
back
and
forth
Greg Moen,
discussion.
please tune in. Cause
I
you
believe
guys
my
were great.
exact quote on it was, "I'll be there if I'm not at SummerSlam directly."
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll see about that.
But
We will make sure Matt doesn't go to SummerSlam so he can be on the live podcast.
aside
We will Skype him in from the Barclays Center if we need to.
aside from that, don't forget to come back in about 2 weeks for the next episode of the show. And yeah, I guess for
That's going to do it.
for Dan, for Matt, I'm Steven.
And his Grindr account.
We'll see you next time.
See.